Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to another visual arts lesson. I am your teacher, Mrs. Palmer Carroll. So for today's lesson, can you tell me what our topic will be? Can you see my face? Can you see my face? Can you see me now? Yes. Now, we're looking at a mask. However, we're not going to do mask making today, all right? The topic for today's lesson is artists and how they communicate their ideas. Let us look at the objectives for today's lesson. We will define who is an artist, and we'll just revise. We'll look at least 4 categories of artists, and that's revision also. But we're going to explain the difference between 2D and 3D art. And of course, we're going to have some fun. We're going to create a 3D sculpture. So let us revise. Now, do you remember last class we looked at different categories of artists? Do you remember any? I'm going to give you just a few seconds to tell me one that you remember. Very good. I hear painter. I'm hearing another one. Very good. Somebody who draws. And what did we call them again? Yes, we call them a D-R-A-W-E-R, drawer. We also look at a sculptor. And a sculptor is a person who does what? Yes, they make objects. They sculpt objects, right? Similar to probably a face, a sculpture that you see on the outside. Even, can you think of a sculpture right now? Do you remember any? Those of you who live in Kingston or even in the country, is there any sculpture that you can think of? There's one that I can think of right now. It's the one right by Emancipation Park. Right, it is called the Emancipation Statue. Okay, good. So we also look at another type of artist. We have an animator, and we also have a photographer. All right, good. We also look at definition of terms. Do you remember the terms that we looked at last week? We have media, very good. We also have tools and materials. Now, do you remember what we said that they were? Okay, let me take you through it. So media, all right? Now, media is what you're going to use to get the work done. Media, remember that we say if we're going to paint, the media is the paint. And if we're going to paint, what would we likely use? Very good, a paintbrush. So I'd use a paintbrush to paint. And the materials, what materials would I use? What did I paint on? Ah, that's good. We paint on a canvas. We can also paint on paper. So that was a quick revision on media, tools, and materials, okay? Now, who is an artist? So in our last class, we looked at 2 words, 2 keywords. Do you remember them in defining who is an artist? Very good. Imagination. So an artist must have imagination. Very good. And what is the other word? Creativity. Awesome job. So, and looked at imagination and creativity. The definition that we came up with the last class was, let us read together. An artist is anyone who uses their imagination and creativity to produce a work of art. Very good. All right. For today's lesson, we are going to look at the difference between 2D art and 3D art. Okay, so you might be wondering, what is 2D and what is 3D? Let me see if I can explain that to you so that you can understand. Okay, so 2D, the D right there means dimensional, meaning it has 2 measurements. Okay, take a look. So I have paper, and the paper has 2 measurements. Can you tell me what the two measurements are? Very good. We have length and we have width, all right? So we can measure it at a later date, okay? But it has two measurements. Now, for three-dimensional, how many measurements do you think it have? If two-dimensional have two measurements, how many measurements do you think three-dimensional objects have? Three-dimensional objects have three measurements, okay? Now, let us use this box, my crayon box, as an example. So, it has length, it has width, and what else does it have? Very good, because I know you did this in maths. It has depth, okay? So we have length, we have width, and we have depth. So I would get three measurements. Very good. So now you know the difference between two-dimensional object and three-dimensional object, okay? Now, we're going to do a little activity. We are going to identify some two-dimensional objects and some three-dimensional objects, okay? So, come with me. Now this mask, is it two-dimensional or is it three-dimensional? Very good. Yes, it is three-dimensional. It has length, it has width, and it has depth, all right? So, my swan. Now, is this two-dimensional or is my swan three-dimensional? Very good. Are you getting the hang of this? I like that. Yes, it is three-dimensional, all right? It has length, it has width, and it has depth. Very good. We're just going to look at this as a painting, just a surface, right? Now, is this painting two-dimensional or is this painting three-dimensional? Take a good look at my painting. Very good. I know you were good at this. It is two-dimensional, right? There is nothing raised on this surface that would give me any depth. All right, so we're going to do one more. This object, it is a vase. Very good. Now, yes, very good. It is three-dimensional. Awesome job. Now, I have one more before we move into our activity. Now, this painting right here. Is this two-dimensional or is it three-dimensional? Very tricky indeed. I'm wondering, what is it? Now, I'm hearing you. Awesome. Yes, it is three-dimensional. Now we have sculpture in the round. Similar to this, I can see right around it. And I have relief sculpture, right? Because it's on a surface and it's raised. Now, this is an example of a relief sculpture, even though it is not raised high, okay? So it has objects on the surface, and of course it gives me texture, which is an element of art, right, of design, right? So it's slightly raised, okay? So we'd refer to this as relief sculpture. Low relief sculpture, okay? Low relief. All right, very good. Now, we're going to have some fun. We are going to try and do a high relief sculpture. Now, the materials that I'm going to use today is paper. Now, regular paper, yes, regular paper like this that you have at home, or newspaper, right? What I did before time was I got a container. You can get any container at home, right? And I add water to the container. I add water to the container, and then what I did was I shredded my paper. You can just tear up your paper, small enough, and I add it to the water, right? Now, this was done from overnight, right? So I'm going to take it out so you can see. All right, so this is what it looks like. Right? Now, when you add glue to this, right, you can use it to make sculptures, okay? Now, you can use it to make high relief sculptures, you can use it to make low relief sculptures, and you can also use it to make sculptures in the round, okay? And sculptures in the round is also an example of this. You can see right around it, okay? And also, if I was doing sculpture in the round, I'd use a wire base. It is called an armature, right? I shape out what I want, and then I add my paper to it, okay? But we're not doing a sculpture in the round today. We're going to do a low relief sculpture today, okay? Now, what I want us to do is to draw a butterfly on a paper, right? We're going to use that drawing today. Now, how many of you know how to draw a butterfly? I learned an easy way to draw a butterfly, okay? And I'm going to show it to you. You get your paper, and you're going to write the number 8, okay? Ready? So let me show you how to use the number 8 and the number 3 to draw a butterfly. Ready? So we do the 8, just like that. I'm making the top of the 8 small, right? And I'm going to put on the antennas. And I'm going to use the number 3 as stylish 3. There we go. Oh. And on the other side, and we have a nice butterfly, okay? So this is what we're going to use to do a low relief sculpture today. Now, I went ahead and I drew my butterfly on a hard surface, a cardboard, if you have at home that you can use, okay? So let's get ready. So I'm going to use my paper, and I'm going to use some Ponal glue. But if you don't have Ponal glue, what can you use? What can you use that is available at home? We can use a little bit of flour. Let us whisper, okay? A little bit of flour, right? And we mix the flour into a little paste, okay? You can ask mommy or daddy or auntie or uncle or anybody at home if you could get a little bit of flour, okay? And we add water to that little bit of flour to make it a paste so that it will hold the paper together on your hard surface, okay? All right. So, just doing a little kneading, all right, to get it nice. Very good. All right. So I add my glue or your flour. Do a little kneading. All right, and this is fun. Can I tell you? This is so much fun. All right. And remember to protect your surface, your work surface. Right. Oopsie. Realize that it is coming together. Very good. It feels squishy and soft. All right. Now remember not to mess up the place at home, okay? All right, I'm adding just a little bit more glue, and then I am ready. So what type of sculpture are we doing again? Yes, we're doing a low relief sculpture, okay? Low relief sculpture that we're doing today. All right, ready? So you take and you are going to shape out your butterfly, okay? See, the glue holds it together. Or you can use flour and that will also hold it together. All right? It's a very fun project. All right, so if you realize that my body, the body of the butterfly, is a bit higher than the wings of the butterfly, all right? Now, and if you look at a butterfly, right, you realize that, yes, the body is, has a three-dimensional form, right? And the wings are somewhat two-dimensional, or right? All right, so let us finish our butterfly. I'm having so much fun, and I really want you to try this at home, okay? Remember, you can get newspaper or any other paper at home. You're going to tear it up, put it in a container with some water, let it sit for a while. Then you're going to squeeze out the excess water, put it on a flat surface, right? And you're going to add glue or a little bit of flour that you will ask somebody at home for, and you're going to make your low relief sculpture from using in the form of a butterfly. And remember how I showed you how to draw your butterfly using the number 8 and very good, and the number 3, okay? And don't worry, it will not fall, trust me. Why? Very good, because we're using the glue, and the glue is what is holding the paper together and also holding it to the surface. All right, we can clean up the edges afterwards, all right? So when you're finished, what you're going to do, because we can't paint it same time when it's wet, so we're going to leave it for about a day or two, right? It depends on how much water you have in there. And when it's dry, you will feel it is very hard when it's dry. And then we're going to paint it with any paint that you have at home, right? We're saying that we can also use a little flat emulsion paint also, if that's what you have at home. If you have poster color, any paint that you have at home, right? You can use that paint and you can paint your butterfly once it's dry, all right? And then guess what? You can put this up in your home, right? You can paint it and you can put it up in your home and you'll feel so proud of yourself knowing that I created this work, right? And then guess what you can also do? You can show mommy, you can show daddy, you can show uncle, you can show auntie, you can show anybody how to make a low relief sculpture from paper. All right? All right, so here is my finished product. Does it look like a butterfly? I think it does. All right? Now, remember you can paint it anyhow you want it, and you'll see the beauty of it once you paint your butterfly. Okay? Good. I had fun. I'm hoping that you did too, right? We created a wonderful butterfly using paper. Okay? Now, do you remember the process that we went through? Yes, let us go through the process again. So we get paper, any paper at home. We get a container with water. We put the paper in to sit for a while. And then we use, very good, we use glue or we use a little bit of flour. You ask mommy or anybody at home for a little bit of flour, right? And then you knead it together to hold the paper together and you make your low relief sculpture. Very good. So let us recap quickly. So today we looked at two-dimensional art and we looked at three-dimensional art. Now we said that paper, a two-dimensional object, has length and, very good, width, right? And we said that a three-dimensional object has, very good, you're getting this, length, width, and awesome, depth. Good, I knew you'd remember, right? And we also said that we have three-dimensional objects that are in the round, meaning you can see right around it. Very good. We also have low relief, three-dimensional art, right? This is an example that we looked at earlier, and right, we did one for our activity today, okay? Very good. Now, I'm hoping that you had some fun. So come next week, guess what we're going to do? Yes, we are going to visit an artist. So until I see you next week, take care.